Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here with you today. Just wanted to address this a little bit. We wanted to give you a little bit of an overview on introduce yourself to me. I haven't met most of you that are in the room, and I am relatively new to this position. Give you a little bit of some ideas about what we do within the Green Section department. And then also, in combination with that, talk about managing expectations and what our staff does to help on that aspect of it with golfers. And I'm sure in your positions you recognize that sometimes managing expectations are some of the biggest challenges that we have within the position itself. This is where I get to call work every day. Great place to go up to. Hopefully many of you have had the opportunity to be able to visit Golf House in Far Hills, New Jersey. It's only about 20 minutes down the road from here, so close by. It was a nice commute this morning coming in. I enjoyed that aspect of it. We were founded in 1894, and when we were first founded, it was to conduct championships, manage the handicap system, and operate the rules of the game. So things that we still do today. But we do it with 300 staff members now. About 700,000 individual members. We've got about 1,700 people who work as volunteers for us in a number of different capacities, and work with 9,000 member clubs across the United States who support the USGA's mission. The best part about it is we have the opportunity to be able to annually distribute about $80 million that we are able to put out there to help support the game of golf, to help us make sure that we're continuing to move this game into the future. And that's what your support of the Met Golf Association, that helps support the USGA as well. And that's the issues that we're faced with. We do it in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different departments within the association. Certainly probably best known for our US Open, but also have 12 other national championships that we host as well. But today I'm going to focus on that bottom golf ball, the green section. Probably at the bottom of the list, but what I say, it's the foundation of the list too, because it's what we have to do to make sure that that best asset that we have outside the windows here, the golf course, what we're doing to make that conditioning the best way possible. And that's what our staff's involved in. So I want to give you a few ideas of where we're involved in that area. Give you a little bit of a history lesson about the green section. We were actually started in 1920, so we've been around the USGA for a number of years. And we started when they had the US Open at the Inverness Club in Ohio. And they came to the USGA and said, we need help in preparing the golf course for the championship. And there really wasn't a body of information to be able to help people prepare golf courses for championships. And the USGA then formed a partnership with the USDA, or the US Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. They got together, and that's what started the Green Section department at the USGA. We actually started at that time for research. That was our main focus. We wanted to be able to help develop better grasses for the game of golf. Still the same goal that we have today as well within our research program, but we were trying to improve the quality of golf course conditionings, especially on the putting greens. That happens to be Johnny Farrell, who is the 1928 US Open champion, who used to come down to the initial research plots that we had down in Arlington, Virginia, to be able to help test some of the putting quality. We've done a lot on pesticide and pesticide research. As you can see, these guys in the upper right, pesticide safety was not a big thing back in the 1920s. Got a little bit better on that. We've made a lot of progress in that area. But we've also been trying to then develop new grasses for the game that use less water. We want them to use less pesticides and be able to withstand the environmental stresses. So our goals that we had in 1920 are the same that we have still now in 2012. That's what we do within the research program. But a lot of the activities then within the green section, the research provides the foundation for that all, but we have a lot of staff to be able to get that information into the hands of golf course superintendents, green chairman, presidents of club, to be able to implement that information and how you manage the golf course itself. This person on the right, Jim Snow, was actually the national director of the green section for 22 years, and I'm sure a lot of you knew him. He just retired in December of 2011, and then that's when I took over. I actually came to the USGA in 1990. A little background on myself. I'm one of 7 kids. I'm the one in the middle who's not paying attention. The gentleman up here asked me if I like to be called Kim or Kimberly. I said my brothers call me Thunder Thighs. As long as you don't call me that, we're in good shape. I've got 2 brothers and 1 sister who golf avidly. We love to play together, and it's been a great part of our lives with golf. I did go to Iowa State University for my undergraduate, and University of Nebraska is where I did my master's and PhD work. I'm actually number 5 on this list, horticulture, one of the 5 most worthless college majors as declared by Yahoo this year. My parents were not too happy about that. But I can tell you, for anyone who majors in horticulture or agriculture, for any of you who have children that may be doing that, don't panic. They will move out eventually and be able to support themselves. So it is okay. We've got a number of people when the Green Section was first started in 1953, or when the Turf Advisory Service was started in 1953. This was actually the first staff members. One unhappy, doesn't look like a happy office assistant right there in the middle, but the other 4 were very proud members to be able to take information that we were finding out in the research program and to be able to deliver it to golf course superintendents to be able to improve putting quality on the course. Now we have 22 professional members on our Green Section staff. All have those useless majors of agronomy or agriculture or horticulture. We're all of that same useless field. But we're able to deliver a lot of good information to you, so ignore Yahoo when you see that again. But these are the members that take that information from the research program and actually deliver it through our Turf Advisory Service, through our education programs, and to be able to work with a lot of outside groups to be able to promote what we do within the industry and what we're doing to make quality conditions on the golf course. The Green Section has what I consider really 4 core programs of what we're doing to try to improve golf course conditioning. We do a lot of on-site visits. That's part of our Turf Advisory Service. But I really look as our Turf Advisory Service as really our overall umbrella of what we do within our department. On-site visits are one component of that. In fact, how many of you in the room have had one of our agronomists come visit you for our Turf Advisory Service? Great. Number of hands. It's a great service. It's a good way to be able to get direct information on what's specifically how you can improve some of the conditioning on your golf course. But we also do a number of things to be able to make sure that we can get that information into the hands of golf courses that may not have us come on site. But our staff members, many of them have been on staff for a number of years. They visit about 100+ golf courses per year. They've got a great set of expertise, and you have not only the ability to get that expertise for the one agronomist who visits your golf course, but you're also able to take advantage of those other 17 agronomists that are on staff as well to be able to utilize that information. We do a lot of that through education and outreach. We've got a number of different programs. We'll talk about that a little bit today. Our research program, we're going to go into that in a little bit of detail. And then also Green Section support of championships. That's something we took over about 5 years ago to be able to help prepare for each one of our championships to be able to do all the agronomic preparations for that. So our agronomists are also involved in that, which has been a great boom for both us and for the championships as a whole. I think the biggest thing that we can offer to the industry is that it's all science-based. We're not basing our information just on emotional decisions, which for any of you who have been involved in any kind of controversies within your own golf course, you know emotions drive a lot of those issues. We're basing our recommendations on good science and good experience to be able to offer the best information to the industry. We don't have any affiliation with any kind of products or chemical companies or any type of specific, the latest wave of what's out there. We're able to give you some good judgment of what we see that actually works in the field, what are the pros and the cons, and what are the issues you should be aware of before you make your decisions on how your money is going to be spent in your golf course maintenance budget. Best thing is we're also very accessible, and we have a lot of timely information. We try to make sure that we stay ahead of the game when it comes to the research information to make sure that we're answering those questions before they become the biggest issues within our industry. You know, you got to be out front if you're going to take the lead, and we believe we need to be the leading organization when it comes to providing solid agronomic information, and that's our goal with all of our activities, that we try to stay ahead of the curve so that we're ready when those issues come to face the golf course industry. Our research program really, as I said, that provides the basis and the strongest foundation that we can provide for our department. Our biggest issues that we really look at are trying to make sure that we've got proper resource management. We're in charge of a lot of natural resources. We take that responsibility very seriously, just as all the superintendents do, recognizing the responsibilities within their position. We have to talk about environmental protection, but also tying that into economic viability as well. We've got to make sure that we're balancing all of those issues as we're moving forward. The USGA has committed a number of dollars to the research program. If you look back to when we started in 1920, we put out about $40 million dedicated specifically to universities across the country to do research specifically in the turfgrass area. This really was ramped up since 1983, when a lot of the issues came forward asking about what golf courses' impact was on the environment. About $33 million has been spent just since 1983 alone. So I give a lot of credit to and kudos to the USGA's Executive Committee for continuing that work and recognizing the importance of distributing this money in this arena. It's been a great support of what we've done for the industry. But a lot of that support comes from our member clubs as well, and it's without the commitment of people like the Met Golf Association and the other state and regional golf associations. That's an important partnership that we have with you to make sure that we're getting all of that information put together for the superintendents. We want to get better grasses for the game of golf. It's a simple goal, but it's a goal that has a lot of it has a lot of factors that have to tie into that as well. We want to make sure we've got the better grasses for the game, but in combination with that, we also have to make sure that we've got the necessary maintenance practices that go with it too. Met Golf Association, you guys have the advantage of, you've got one of the best turfgrass universities in the country located right here in the state of New Jersey in Rutgers. Their turfgrass program is very impressive, it's very extensive, and it's one that's well worth supporting. They do a great deal for our industry. You know, our key initiatives, when people ask about what our key initiatives are within the industry as a whole, when I started in 1990, golf was in a big boom at that time. But people were asking questions about golf also. We had a lot of environmental entities that were saying, what about the use of land for golf courses? There was questions about that. They wanted to know what was happening about pesticide and nutrient fate. That was a big issue. They were saying for all the products that are being applied to maintain the golf course, what's happening to those products and how is it impacting our environment? They also wanted to know about what the impact was on communities and wildlife. We had to address those questions. And in the 1990s, when we had NGF saying that we needed to open a new golf course every day to be able to meet the demand, these were the questions that environmental groups were asking of us, and this was what the focus of that research program was. In today's issues, we've done a lot to be able to address those questions. But now we really, we've taken a big swing in the whole economic arena. And we have to really look at, we're still addressing the same types of questions, trying to improve grasses that use less water. We want them to make sure that they have to have fewer inputs. We want to make sure that they can withstand environmental stresses that we have. But we got to deal with the issues that you deal with every day. Specifically, how do we balance that economic or that environmental sustainability, but we have to also balance that with the economics that come in with it. Something that you're certainly dealing with the management of your golf courses, on how to make the golf course economically viable while respecting the environment in which that golf course is maintained. So we can have a lot of answers when it comes to the environmental sustainability aspect of it, but we also need to make sure that we're getting it into the hands of the decision makers themselves, and that's where our education program is coming in, to make sure that we have the right communication efforts to be able to get those research results to benefit the golf courses and to balance that environmental sustainability that goes with it. So today, if somebody asked me, okay, you said that those are the issues that you had in the 1990s, what are the biggest issues that you have today? You know, I'm going to change those answers a little bit differently. I'm going to give you my top 3 are going to be in a little bit different order as far as those biggest issues. But those biggest issues, doesn't matter if you're the largest private clubs, but it's also the same issues that are facing some of our private, or some of our public, and also some of our municipal golf courses. I'm going to change those a bit because sustainability is going to be one of those bigger issues that we have to face in there. You definitely need to balance the economics as well as the environmental issues to create and maintain a viable golf course. And that has to be for years to come. We have to make sure that as we take care of this property, that we're able to make it viable for years to come for those future golfers that we have out that are on the horizon. Probably one of the biggest issues that I also think that we're going to face, and we're definitely at the start of it right now, and it's going to become a bigger issue as we move forward, is the water issue. And that's going to impact every part of the country. I know when we look out there today, it's raining, and we haven't had to face a lot of the drought that they've had through the entire Midwest and the southern part of the country. It's a big issue, but it doesn't matter whether you're in the Southwest, which is an issue that they face this every single day, or whether we're in the Northeast, where our dwindling water resources are coming from and how they're being utilized and allocated. That's going to become on the rise as we move forward. And certainly managing expectations. Our golfers' expectations, they drive a lot of what we do to be able to maintain our golf courses. And we have to make sure that we're managing those expectations, something I know you're very familiar with. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this morning as well. You know, when I look at our green section in our education role, you know, it's interesting. When we did a lot of our initial work for our green section department, our main audience was golf course superintendents. That was the primary person we dealt with. We did a little bit with academics at the scientific community, but if you look at the expansiveness of the industry as a whole, we can't just talk to golf course superintendents anymore. That can't be what our issues are. That was an easy one to hit. It was a very defined audience. We knew what their technical expertise was. It was easy to be able to communicate in that language because that's what we were trained in. That was an easy audience to hit. But now we have some other challenges because when we deal with sustainability issues, it really has to go taking on a multi-prong approach. There's a lot more people in that arena that we have to be able to communicate with. One, to be able to get some of the results that we have in the research program out to be able to make people aware of that. But we also have to do a better job of selling our industry outside of the whole realm of the golf course industry as a whole. We got to make sure that we are developing materials that are broad-based to a number of these different audiences. And that means you have to change the language a little bit and communicate in a lot of different ways. So one of the things that we really are going to focus on as we're going into a new role with the Green Section Department is how do we expand those educational products to reach a lot more of these audiences than what we have in the past. One of the best things is when you think about in the last 10 years, think about how much our technology has changed. It used to be only you'd have it in print. You'd only have it in meetings such as this where you'd have somebody standing in front of you. We have a lot more different opportunities now to be able to get that information out. We've got 3 people on our staff that are dedicated specifically to try to expanding how we are getting that information into the hands in a lot of different ways now, whether it be over webcasts or podcasts, improving our materials that we have on the USGA.org site. We're trying to work better with working with our 700,000 individual members of the USGA, golfers who are very avid within the industry, to make sure that they understand what we're doing and their responsibility that they have for how their expectations impact what we're trying to do on the golf course. There's a number of different channels that we will be expanding and trying to make sure that we're making them as innovative and as timely as possible as we move forward within this arena. You know, one of the tools that's available to you, and one of the things that every one of you should be a subscriber to, is the Green Section Record magazine. It was a magazine since 1920 when the Green Section was started. 3 years ago, we actually took it out of a print publication and made it into an electronic publication. It's done every 2 weeks. Arrives in your inbox on a Friday morning. It usually has 1 or 2 articles that are specifically on some of the latest issues that are impacting golf course maintenance. And then it also contains regional updates that are written by each one of our staff to give a quick update on what's happening within the region. If you go to USGA.org, go onto the course care section, there will be an area where you can sign up for the Green Section Record. It's an easy publication to be able to try to get some of the information that's out there. It's one of those you certainly should encourage that your green committees, your golf committees, anybody who is in a decision-making role at your golf club, and even some of your golfers, your members themselves, should be receiving this publication to be able to find out some of the latest issues that are out there in the industry itself. You know, the USGA's website, we've got a great section on course care that contains a number of different things to be able to use that as a communication tool for your golfers. You're going to see a lot of changes in that area this year. We've got a new staff member that's dedicated specifically to updating this area so that we've got that information much better organized than what it has been done in the past. We want to be able to have it so that golfers can easily go in there, decision makers of clubs, to be able to say, okay, what information is directly utilized for me? So you'll be seeing a lot of information here. One of the new things that we'll have going up, and it should be up in about 3 weeks, is we've got a new section on the most frequently asked questions that golfers have. It's in a video series. They'll be available in both English and Spanish. You can download them, you can put them on your club's websites, you can put them in your pro shops, but it's an easy way for you to be able to communicate golfers of why you shouldn't be walking on why you shouldn't be walking on the greens in the mornings when there's frost, why you have frost delays, why they have to be out there and hand irrigating even though you put into a big irrigation system, what some of the issues are of working from the maintenance area. So that's a lot of the things that are highlighted. So that'll be a good resource that will be available in the very near future, and we'll have those also, some announcements on that in the Green Section Record magazine. So that'll be another area that will hopefully provide you of a resource for improving communications with your golfers. Okay, water cost. Certainly again, one of the biggest issues that is going to be out there on our horizon. When you look at, this was actually a graph that was in USA Today just last week, and it talked about comparing water costs from the year 2000 to 2012 and how much they have increased just in the last 12 years. You know, you think about it, for most homeowners, you think about the water bill you get, unless you have an irrigation system at your house, really, you know, 30, 40, maybe 50 bucks for your water bill, relatively inexpensive in the big scheme of things. Well, all of a sudden, people are now starting to notice that water bill's starting to climb up a little bit. You know, since 2000, that fee has raised about 75%. And unfortunately, it's only going to get higher as we move out to the future. We've got infrastructure issues within our water systems that it's costing money. You got to issue bonds to be able to pay for those things. You look at, there's also increasing costs when it comes to electricity and chemicals and fuel when it comes to manage our wastewater plants. Those costs are coming back to the consumer itself. We've got compliance issues when it comes to the Clean Water Act. Those costs are coming back to the consumers. Increased security that we have to have since post 9/11 to be able to protect our water systems and our water resources. All of those costs are starting to add up and come back into the water issue. Let alone the fact of that, as far as this is also a finite natural resource. We can't make more of it. We have to live on what exists, and it's a critical natural resource we have. When you think about the game of golf, it's one of those where communities are trying to provide quality drinking water. Water is a necessity for what we need to do for this recreational area, and more people are talking about, okay, should golf be using water? Well, it is something we have to be able to maintain our courses, but we also have to recognize the importance of how we're maintaining that natural resource and that we're protecting it with very forward-thinking ideas. One of the things we're going to host here, we've got the USGA is going to have a National Water Summit at the early part of November that we're hosting, where we're bringing in some of the leading people within the scientific community, the academics and EPA administrators, people who are making those judgment calls about how much water should golf get. We want to bring together some of those leading key decision makers to talk about golf's responsibility for maintaining how much we utilize the water system itself. As I said, you know, communities, they're making a lot of decisions when it comes to, they've got to provide sufficient amounts of drinking water for our communities. But when it doesn't matter that we're just going into areas of drought itself. It's understandable that for recreational purposes, that they're going to come under a little bit more scrutiny when some of these decisions have to be made about who does get the water that we do have available. One of the advantages we have is turf is a great resource to be able to cleanse water. It's got a fibrous root system. Water that goes through there comes out better after it moves through a turf grass system. That's a big positive for us. But we have to make sure that we're communicating that message before we get to the point of decision makers saying, where are we going to start cutting some of our water supplies? So part of our responsibility is, as an industry, is to make sure that we're talking about these issues with the decision makers before we get to that point where they're making the decision of who gets the water and who doesn't get the water. And these are one of the things that we consider a critical issue that the Green Section needs to continue to be involved with as we move out in the future. You know, managing expectations. That's one of those things where all of you in your positions as decision makers at your golf clubs recognize that we've got to manage decisions or manage those expectations of what golfers think the golf course should look like. You know, whether it's better rough, whether it's better bunkers, or better whatever, it doesn't come without some kind of inconvenience and some kind of extra cost to the golf course itself. So if you're going to have the best of everything, or if you're going to at least have everything just right, as you hear some golfers say, you know, that can be very easy, but if it was really easy, you know, every golf course would have it. So you recognize that there are challenges in how we maintain the golf courses itself. But if a problem is present, it's not something that usually came overnight. It usually became because of a buildup of issues and maintenance practices that hadn't been maintained. There's costs that have to go into it, whether it's providing enough dollar value to your maintenance budget to be able to meet the expectations, or maintaining the infrastructure at the golf course to be able to get the proper maintenance conditioning available too. Those things have to be put into balance with it. There's very few dramatic improvements that can come about without some type of input of cash that comes in, and also a little bit of inconvenience usually that goes in there. I know a lot of golfers said that they want to have those beautiful roughs that are the wispy, waving grasses, but they don't realize that you can't have naturalized roughs and not have maintenance that goes into it. There are costs that are involved in that. You need to make sure at each one of your golf courses that you have done proper time management studies to know what kind of labor it takes to go in there to maintain those conditions. I would hope that every golf course out there, our goal is to make sure that every golf course has a written environmental and maintenance plan so that you know what the guidelines are to be able to meet the expectations of the golfers. You got to establish what those guidelines, you got to establish what the expectations are, and then make sure that you put the amount of dollars that are going to be needed to meet those expectations so that everybody's on the same page when it comes to making decisions. And we also have to make sure we have consistent communications with the golfers themselves. Those need to continually go out there to make sure that that's a two-way street when we move into the communication avenue. One of the ways that we can help you through the USGA is through our on-site visits, through our Turf Advisory Service. It's a way that we can go out there and help you. We do these in either half-day or full-day increments. Our staff member will come out there. We can do it by whatever problems that you're having on the golf course, that client-generated type of visit. Or we are also trying to do communicate better what we can do for specialized visits, whether we may come out just to help you evaluate the tree conditions that you have on the course and what it needs to make to maintain those areas. Looking at playing quality alone on the putting greens, or looking at just the bunkers themselves, helping you with some of your membership meetings and communicating some of the issues when it comes to maintenance guidelines in that area. This is a great resource for you to be able to utilize. Our staff they've got great expertise, good communication skills, and they're able to help you communicate those messages, identify those problems on the golf course, and to be able to move that out to help you get a better product over the long run for your golf course itself. These are your 3 agronomists that are in the Northeast region. Dave Otis on the far right, who is the director of the region, and he's assisted by Adam Miller in the middle and Jim Skorolski. Great resources for you to get to know and to be able to utilize, and I certainly encourage you to do that. Sadly, this year we lost one of our key Green Section agronomists, Stanley Zontek, who's there on the right with Dave Otis. He had been a Green Section agronomist for 41 years, and he passed away unexpectedly about 5 weeks ago. And he really, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you in the room knew Stanley. He was one who was very well traveled and very well respected in our industry. But one of the things that he always used to do was he used to end every talk that he gave with a Go Golf slide. And that's what he wished to all of you. So in honor of Stanley for this year, that's what I wish to you, is certainly go golf for 2013. And hopefully you'll be able to go golf this afternoon too. But we've got a great industry, and we've got some terrific resources that we can provide to communities and to the recreational area and to the economic components that our golf courses offer to communities as well. And these are the things that we will capitalize within the Green Section, and there's a lot of bright things on our future. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this morning, share a few of those ideas with you, and thanks for the invitation to see you today.